In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening and there was morning, the first day.
And God said, "Let there be a dome in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." And it was so. God called the dome sky. And there was evening and there was morning, the second day.
And God said, "Let the waters under the sky be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the waters that were gathered together he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the earth put forth vegetation." And it was so. The earth brought forth vegetation, plants and trees bearing fruit. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning, the third day.
And God said, "Let there be lights in the dome of the sky to separate the day from the night." And it was so. God made the two great lights, the greater the light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. And God saw that it was good, and there was evening and there was morning, the fourth day.
And God said, "Let the waters bring forth swarms of living creatures, and let the birds fly above the earth across the dome of the sky." So God created the great sea monsters and every winged bird of every kind. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning, the fifth day.
And God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures of every kind." And it was so. God made the wild animals of the earth and everything that creeps upon the ground. And God saw that it was good.
Then God said, "Let us make humankind in our image, according to our likeness, and let them have the dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the wild animals of the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth."
So God created humankind in his image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them. God blessed them. And it was so. God saw everything that he made, and indeed it was very good. There was evening and there was morning, the sixth day.
Thus the heavens and the earth were finished. And on the seventh day God finished the work that he had done, and he rested. So God blessed the seventh day and hallowed it, because on it God rested from all the work that he had done in creation.
Go into the ark, you and all your household, for I have seen that you alone are righteous before me in this generation. Take with you 7 pairs of animals and 7 pairs of birds of the air to keep their kind alive on the face of the earth. For in 7 days I will send rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and every living thing that I have made.
As Pharaoh drew near, the Israelites looked back, and there were the Egyptians advancing on them. In great fear the Israelites cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you have taken us away to die in the wilderness? What have you done to us, bringing us out of Egypt? Is this not the very thing we told you in Egypt? Let us alone and let us serve the Egyptians. For it would have been better for us to serve for the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness." But Moses said to the people, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm. The Lord will fight for you, and you have only to keep still."
Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea. The Lord drove the sea back a strong east wind all night and turned the sea into dry land, and the waters were divided. The Israelis went into the sea on dry ground, the waters forming a wall for them on their right and on their left. The Egyptians pursued and went into the sea after them, all of the Pharaoh's horses, chariots, and chariot drivers.
Then the Lord said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the sea, so that the water may come back upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots and chariot drivers." So Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and at dawn the sea returned to its normal depth. The waters returned and covered the entire army of Pharaoh. But the Israelites walked on dry ground through the sea, the waters forming a wall for them on their right and on their left. Thus the Lord saved Israel that day from the Egyptians.
Now before the festival of the Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart from this world and go to the Father. And during supper, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, got up from the table, took off his outer robe, and tied a towel around himself. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel that was tied around him.
He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus answered, "You do not know now what I am doing, but later you will understand." Peter said to him, "You will never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no share with me." Simon Peter said to him, "Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head." Jesus said to him, "One who is bathed does not need to wash, except for the feet, but he is entirely clean. And you are clean, though not all of you." For he knew who was to betray him. For this reason he said, "Not all of you are clean."
After he had washed their feet, had put on his robe, and had returned to the table, he said to them, "Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for that is what I am. So if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash one another's feet. For I have set you an example, that you also should do as I have done to you. Very truly, I tell you, servants are not greater than their master, nor are messengers greater than the one who sent them. If you know these things, you are blessed if you do them."
When the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene and Mary the mother of James brought spices, so that they might go and anoint him. And very early on the first day of the week, when the sun had risen, they went to the tomb.
They had been saying to one another, "Who will roll away the stone for us from the entrance to the tomb?"
When they looked up, they saw that the stone, which was very large, had already been rolled back. As they entered the tomb, they saw a young man dressed in a white robe, sitting on the right side. And they were alarmed. But he said to them, "Do not be alarmed. You are looking for Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He has been raised, and he is not here. Look, there is the place they laid him. But go, tell his disciples and Peter that he is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him just as he told you."